Why did jDiggz disappear? So this comment here, first of all, I appreciate everybody, all the kind comments, all the kind words from everybody regarding the 20th anniversary of Push It Up. I appreciate that. It made my year straight, seeing everybody reminisce. I figured with this comment, story time is necessary. It's been a long time since a lot of you have seen me. I've been laying low to a certain extent. I took a different road some years back, over a decade back, when I decided to remove myself from music as a recording artist. Well, let's start from the beginning then. 18-year-old me puts out a song called Push It Up. I had just signed a deal. Well, before that, let's start a little bit before that. I think I was about just turning 17. Before Push It Up, I put out a song called Hypnotic with my brother. Big up Scotch, the person that taught me how to do music, how taught me how to produce and all them thing there. Anyways, I put out a song called Hypnotic in the streets. Back then we were producing and for a lot of the local acts in the city. We're producing for JB, we're producing for man like Don Million, we're producing for a lot of the local men, you know, for the Smugglers. Big up Jane and Finch, big up Driftwood, you know, big up everybody on the East End that we were working with. Mikey G we were working with. Big up everybody back then. So around that time I had a song called Hypnotic my brother produced. And it was such a crazy beat. I was like, man, what the fuck am I gonna do on this beat? And that hypnotic flow was born. That's where that was born. You know, I don't remember how we put it out, but we put it out in the street. I don't know if it was on a mixtape. I don't know how it was. I don't remember. But the homie Carrie, Ramel, ended up getting in touch with us through a mutual friend at the time. Ramel came into my grandmother's basement where we were living, where we had a little studio set up, and he was like, yo, this shit is crazy. We need to talk and we need to see what we can do with this shit. Right there on the spot, Carrie hit up Taj, Tutus, we connect, you know, we put out Hypnotic officially. That was my first single. I'd say that was 2000, the end of 2003 into 2004, somewhere around there. It's now time for Push It Up, which was not my favorite record, by the way. It was actually Taj's favorite record. I didn't think it was gonna do what it did. So big up to Taj for believing in that record, because I did not. X shoots the video. X was the face of this city. A lot of people don't give him credit for that. After we shot Push It Up, we put the song out to radio. Radio didn't want nothing to do with it. It was too urban, it was too Caribbean for Canadian radio. But we shot the video and we put it on Much. So it comes out on Much Music, breaks all kinds of records, ends up blowing up. And y'all telling me all these stories and I'm sitting here like, man, I didn't even know half this shit. I knew it was a hit, but I didn't know it was like, y'all really gave me some life with all those comments telling me about them basement parties, and I appreciate all that love. Anyways, then we start talking album, because back then, a lot of people don't realize this. When I came out in the music industry, it was right in the middle between hard copy music and online music. We were still selling CDs when I came out. We're working on the album. In the middle of all this, between the CD sales dying down in the industry and Napster and LimeWire and all these things that happened during that time that ended up being a catalyst to the change of the music industry, I was right in the dead center of. I was right in the middle of. There was no SoundCloud, there was no Apple Music, there was no Spotify, there was nothing like that. It was either you had a CD and you put it in stores, or you had a mixtape and you put it in the streets. So I kept doing mixtapes, putting out all this music, and in the middle of all this shit happening, all the music coming out, the buzz, people talking about my music, you know what I'm saying? Facebook comes out. Facebook was something that we'd never seen before. We had MySpace, and all these other things, but it wasn't a direct peer-to-peer social media experience. So for me, when that Facebook shit came around, it was a new way for people to show me how much they disliked my music. I started getting all that direct hate straight in my fucking mailbox every morning, and I'd see like 100 messages a day, and The majority, don't get me wrong, the majority of it were fans bigging me up and, you know, telling me how much they love my music, whatever. 40 to 45% was hate. That shit ruined me. For me and a lot of the people in that time, we had no clue how to deal with it. We had no clue how to deal with the hate. So it affected us. It affected me on a serious level. All I focused on was the hate. To the point where I felt like, shit, maybe I should stop doing this sound. Maybe the sound isn't it. Maybe I should change it up. And everybody around me that was seeing that hate was starting to say the same thing. Instead of keeping going with what I was doing, I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Let me just switch this up. I was in a relationship that I shouldn't have been in at that age. I should have been single when I was younger. I was in a relationship. Overall, there was a lot of internal stuff that I was dealing with during that time. The hate affected me, and I started making music. You know, I started looking at what was working at the time. You know, Pharrell and the Neptunes was everywhere at the time. So I was like, fuck, maybe I'll just try to, you know, change my music up and change it to this, and maybe I'll get more radio. You know, there's a lot of things that go on in the mind of an artist. Time passes. It really started to affect me around the time I was putting out the album, Memoirs of a Playboy, which was August 2007. I wasn't happy with that album. I lost a big hard drive with a lot of my favorite records, a lot of fucking dope ass records. A lot of records couldn't make the album. So when it was time to finish this album in the timeline we needed to, it ended up coming together in a way I wasn't fully happy with. So on top of that, on top of all the hate, everything going on at the time, I start drinking more. I start partying more. I start doing drugs I'd never do. I started indulging in things I wouldn't indulge in. I started being wild and crazy and not caring, sort of self-destructing in ways. And that was the beginning of 6 to 8 year destructive path that I went down. My last single that was supposed to be off that album, I had Push It Up, Make It Hot, Give Me That, Just Wanna Party. And the 5th single that was supposed to come off that album was With You Remix, featuring Drake. I didn't end up getting that Video Fact. Back in the day, we had grants, we had money from Much Video Fact. Shout out to them. They spent a good $350,000 on my videos, and I'm forever grateful for that. They greenlit me 95% of the time, but they didn't on this song. You know, all this happening, a lot of internal struggles mentally happened at that time that I can now look back and be like, yeah, that shit really affected. A lot of things really affected me on a personal level, on a mental level. You know, I'm not gonna get too far into it, but my childhood didn't help me get through that difficult time in my life. So I signed a publishing deal with Warner Chappell Music in the States. I was working on an album, and in that time of working on that album, I was just all over the place, man. I was all over the place. Even when I won that Much Music Award, like I was in that building, like there, you know, you do press after you win, doing press, and I was just drunk and I didn't give a fuck. And I was just like, man, y'all don't care. But I was deep in my pain body between 2009 and 2013. No matter what I was doing, I didn't think it was good enough. The fact that I'm still here today to talk about this shit is a miracle, straight up. Shit got real at times, you know, like I overdosed on MDMA, and I was near death for a minute, doing interviews, doing radio interviews, barely able to talk during the recovery phase of that overdose. And I was messed up, man. By the grace of God, I'm still here, you know. So that is the basics of where I went. Why did jDiggz disappear? That's the basics of it. And I'm sure some of you can understand. I'm at a point now in my life where I can look back at it and see where I shouldn't have reacted in certain ways to certain things. A lot of that had to do with drugs and alcohol. But yeah, I'm in a great place now. You know, it took a while for me to get over everything that happened at that time and really start to find myself again. You know, I think it was 2013, 14 that I stopped doing drugs. I started trying to find my way. that was the end of it for me as far as being a recording artist. There's a lot of reasons why I was just like, you know what, maybe God is trying to keep me away from. And now looking in hindsight with everything going on and with this whole no Diddy shit, maybe I was saved. Thank you, God. Maybe I was saved from an industry that I wasn't supposed to be a part of. And I thank God every day for whatever was my fate. But then 2015, I started Iron Shore Films. Officially launched January 2016. And I started honing my director skills and filmmaking skills and everything I learned over the past decade being around X and being around film in general. I just did something that I felt more comfortable in, still being creative, still doing something creative in the music industry, but just not the face of it. I'm in a great place because of that. If I didn't take that break from music, who knows what would have happened. I might not be here for real. So I'm grateful for all the love. I'm grateful for everybody reaching out and saying all these kind words. Am I gonna put out another album? At some point I will. Yeah, jDiggz, signing out.
Somebody
Respect.
tell these niggas it's a rap for 'em. The curtain coming down, somebody clap for 'em.